I gotta figure out this camera situation here.
Too late, Andrew. We're already live.
No. We're good.
Well, thanks for joining, Jim. It was super fun Andrew and I were chatting and being like, who could we do this with that would be a hell of a lot of fun? And immediately your name came to mind because we were like, let's go with Jim. He's going to give us a hell of a fun time tonight. Thanks for joining.
You guys have never seen me drunk, so it may not be as good as you think.
Well, look, it's a 2-dink minimum. That's what Andrew and I came up with. It's a 2-dink minimum. So maybe you'll surpass that with us, but we'll see.
I've long said, and I swear there's some element of truth to this, that I often play pickleball past the time where I'm actually having a lot of fun, and I get into the point where I'm just burning calories for future glasses of wine. It's literally in my mind, like, okay, I'm gonna just keep pushing because you can have another glass of wine, go another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Have you ever played while drinking one? That's something.
Tipsy pickleball is a blast, but
drunk pickleball not so good.
I will not name names, but I know people who will have a drink or two before a tournament to calm their nerves. And I will name my own name. I tried it once, and it worked spectacularly for me. So
it didn't work out so well one time when I played against Andrew and Chris in a tournament where I had nothing to eat, and I was like, well, you know what? I'll have a beer. And that game was not my best game, I would say.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't have a beer. I wouldn't drink with nothing in my stomach, regardless of the circumstances. So.
Yeah.
Jim, so I don't know if you're on your laptop, but if you're on StreamYard, there's all the chat comments, if there are any from anybody watching, will be filtered through the right of the screen, so you can click on the comments.
I can see them, but then I have to do this. How bad do I look doing that?
Yeah.
Give it 10 years, you'll understand.
I think we got 5 people watching already, so it's off to a good start, I guess.
That might be a record.
Yeah, that's more than the number of friends I have in real life. So I'm already ahead of the game.
Yep. Well, Jim, you asked me why Andrew and I were doing this, and I think one of the things for me, especially when I'm not playing right now, is I miss all the people that I play with, and I don't get a chance to see everyone as much. Right. It just sort of made me think a bit about why I love playing pickleball, and it's mostly the people. Right. And I love certainly playing and getting out there, hitting the ball hard and having a good time and winning. But, the people side is just something that I haven't seen a lot of on either YouTube or, Facebook. You get to see all the people who are playing, playing things doing breakdown videos and things and competitions. And there's plenty of stuff to watch, but just not a lot of behind the scenes of the people who are actually playing every day. And I just thought that it would be, a fun thing to do to, what would it look like if I could talk to as many people who are playing pickleball as I possibly could and learn a little bit more about what they're doing and how they got involved in the game and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me, you sent me over a little bio about how you got into the game and whatnot. And I just love to know, what got you hooked? What was that first game like? Can you tell me about why you started playing and how you got involved in playing pickleball in the first place?
I got involved. There's a campground in Connecticut called Strawberry Park, and it's it was a well-regarded campground. It's kind of come down a little bit, but it's still a good campground. And there was a couple there that had been there for many years, but they had retired to Florida, so they would come up to the campground in the summer. And one year they came up with it, in April, they came back, and they had found this game pickleball at the community. They lived in a village. Not the villages, but a smaller version of the villages, and they played pickleball there. So they just convinced a bunch of us to go out and start playing. I was a tennis player, and my tennis buddies that I play with regularly had become snowbirds, so I wasn't playing tennis regularly. My son James would play with me occasionally, but he had gotten too good for me. So it just seemed like a fun thing to do. And then once I played it, and because I have the tennis background, I was good at it, pretty early on, decent. Especially considering, a lot of the people there that started the day I started didn't have a tennis background. But I'll tell you what, I was looking at a video yesterday. I started in 2012, and there was a video of people playing that I was looking at from that time frame, and I think everyone I saw in the video is still playing, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, it was brand new to all of us at the time. So I'm not so sure everybody who started with me is still playing, but most of them are. And now at that park, they eventually built courts because it was so popular. And
really. You said how long ago did you say that was, Jim?
2012.
2012. And have you played tennis since?
I played tennis. So I started in April at pickleball. The guys I played tennis with came back in June. They said, "Hey, let's go play tennis." And I didn't think anything of it. I said, "Okay, yeah, let's go play tennis." And we went out to the courts, and like it was, oh my God, I hadn't played tennis since they had left like in September. And now I've been playing pickleball, which the ball goes a lot slower. The ball's like flying. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And even worse than the speed was the bounce of the ball. It was like, whoa, it was like a grasshopper just flying up. So we got about 3 or 4 games in, and I hit a ball at the shaft of the racket, and it caught me right in the eye. My eye was open, and so it hurt, it stung. And I held my eye, and I said to those guys, "Yeah, you guys, I'm done. And they said, "Okay, well, we'll come back next weekend." And I said, No, I'm done. I found this pickleball thing, and I've never played since. I played one time. One time I played. And I played tennis my whole life. Loved nothing bad to say about tennis at all. It was just hard to find games. And then, once I found out I could play pickleball while traveling, and we hear about all the people, and with tennis, you play with a select group of players because disparities in talent in tennis, they're more obvious, and they impact the game more. So you really have to, be with guys or ladies somewhere close to you.
So have you converted any of your old tennis buddies to pickle?
So there was the guy I played with the most. His name's Scott. He weighs about 300 pounds average. Sometimes he's a little less, sometimes a little more. I never beat him in singles tennis. Weighs 300 pounds, never, because he was a marksman. He could just like pew, pew, pew. So I talked to him about pickleball, and I thought it'd be perfect for him because I lost weight, quite a bit of weight playing, and I thought this is perfect. Scott's, I don't want him dropping dead on a tennis court. And he would say, "I'm never, ever, ever playing that game. Never, ever, 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 ever." And I played with him a couple times. I convinced him to come to a regional, the first regional in Maine. He came and he watched some of the higher levels, and he did come away thinking with some more respect for the game, but I still couldn't convert him. And I didn't see him that often either, in my defense. But eventually somebody in Florida got him. And now he said to me this year, but he headed back down to Florida. He's down in Florida again. But he said, "I may not play tennis next year." So which doesn't bring me joy that he's not going to play tennis again, but it's, I tease him. I go, "Yeah, because you're never, ever, 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 ever going to play pickleball, Scott. Never." He would say, just like right in my face, "Never, ever." So.
It's funny because I played tennis all competitively, and same thing. Like I was finding, games down here in the Boston area to play. And then the moment I started playing pickleball, I think I picked up a tennis racket once in that entire time. So it's crazy how much it's taken over for me.
Yeah.
So, and you're not alone at all. There's lots of people, similar stories, and not just tennis, racquetball and, paddleball and things like that. So.
Mildly addictive.
It grabs people. It definitely grabs people. I mean, I have, and it doesn't matter. Like, you guys are high level players. I run a YMCA group, and they're 3 old players, and they have as much fun as you guys have, sometimes more. And they're out there on the courts in the freezing cold playing. I'm getting texts saying, "Do you know where there's any clear courts? We're having withdrawals." It's literally grabs people.
I know, all over like the forum and stuff. There's people like clearing snow paths, and it's crazy. People are playing like 20, 30 degree weather. It's unreal.
Yeah. You're playing all over the place though, right, Jim? Like you travel so much to play. Like that's one of the things was fun meeting you. Like, popping in. I think I met you in Andover one time in a little indoor, middle school gym or something.
I think that's where I met you, Matt. I was actually trying to remember where I met you. I think that's probably where I met you.
And I was like, "Who the hell is this?" And everyone's like, "It's Rhode Island Jim." And I was like, "I don't know who the hell that is yet." And now I don't know how I didn't know ahead of time. So,
because of my job, obviously I'm not traveling these days, but because of my job, I found the game, and now the playing from April all through summer into the fall at Strawberry Park. And then all of a sudden the season ends and there's nothing inside. Rhode Island was, at one time I like to laugh, but it's actually true. One time I was probably the best player in Rhode Island just because there was not that many of us. And I just couldn't find it any place. And then I got traveling and I hooked up with the USAPA, became aware of them. And I went to their Places to Play app. And then I started finding it when I was traveling. And that was just so much fun. And that's really when things changed for me health-wise, was then, because I used to, I would travel, I'd go to a hotel room, eat chips and popcorn at night, watch TV, and then go to bed. And now I was finding pickleball. And it wasn't even so much that I was like going, okay, I'm not going to eat popcorn and chips. I was just, the time I was eating popcorn and chips, now I was on a pickleball court. So
yeah, exactly.
It was consuming my time. And then, I think I had mentioned to you, Matt, I started to count the different venues I played at, going through Places to Play and then trying to remember places there's a lot of places that aren't even on there. And I got to well over 100, and I know and I wasn't even, I just touched on New York, and there's a ton of places in New York. So over 150 places, and it's got to be over 1,000 different players I've been on a court with. And
that's
all
crazy,
levels, it is crazy. And 98% of the people are great. I mean, it's just fun.
Tell me about the 2%.
2%.
Who are those 2%? How do we avoid those 2%?
The 2% is often represented by the people who run pickleball programs. It's like a power trip or something like that.
Oh, man.
I've only had a couple of run-ins with people, like verbally a little bit, and it's almost always somebody who's like in the hierarchy of pickleball in their area, somebody who runs things or has some control over things. And for whatever
that's
reason.
Andrew. Like, you should see Andrew when people, like random people, show up to the court. Andrew just slaps him right down. He's the worst. He's absolutely terrible about that.
If you don't have a court check, get out.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the guy I had the run-in with was like, it was a big pickleball venue, indoor pickleball venue, and I won't tell you where it was. It wasn't even in the Northeast. And he just was flirting with all the ladies, and he was an older guy and just had a lot, but he wasn't paying any attention. So but he was also directing people where to go. So he was an ambassador. I mentioned I was an ambassador, not that I'm trying to pull rank, but you think you'd pay a little of attention to the Rhode Island ambassador for Rhode Island. And I got in a game where the people literally hit me no balls. And it was a brother and sister playing against each other. And he was just peppering his sister, just pounding him at her. And I went over to the guy who was running it, and I was describing what happened. He goes, "Oh, you get what you get," kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah. And I actually said to him, maybe if you were paying more attention to what's going on the courts and less attention to the woman who are waiting for the next games, the program would run more smoothly. And that was it. He went off on me. Understandable. I actually ended up apologizing to the guy, but.
So Jim, you said you've played over 100 something places. What would you say is your favorite place that you've ever played at? Whether it's a venue location or the people that are playing there.
Yeah. So this question's a loaded question, because if I answer it and all the other 149 places are all now suddenly going to hate me, but I can tell you some of my favorite places. The people part of it is pretty consistent. But probably one of my favorite venues probably is Pickleball Island in the Buffalo, New York area. And the group who runs it, the guy who actually owned the building, who started the whole concept, he didn't do it to make money. He was retirement type age, but he loved pickleball. He fell in love with pickleball. And then he brought two other people into it who also love pickleball. One of them's Jason. I don't know if you guys know Jason Santerre, but he's a pickleball brackets guy. Yeah. So all three of them have a passion for it. They've brought so many people to the game. That area, it's funny, sometimes you get to an area and you think you see all the players, and there's so many players, that just somebody or some group of people doing an amazing job, promoting the sport, and that's one of those areas where the amount of people playing for the size of the area is crazy. So, and those people are really nice. The funniest story is in Long Island, New York. Some of my favorite people in Long Island, I love playing there. But the very first time I played in Long Island, a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, was playing, and he hit a ball that hit the ground out of bounds and then hit off his paddle, and it went back over and in. And he immediately yelled out, it was like, boom, boom, out. Well, the woman on the other side of the net said, well, you hit it, so it's too late. You can't call it out. He's like, no, I can. And, I said, yeah, he can. Well, she got on the phone with somebody, and that person validated that she was right. And she's screaming, yelling, whatever. It was kind of funny. It was almost funny because it was so absurd. And then the very next time I went to play pickleball, there was an older guy there, and he started yelling at all the players that they wouldn't hit him any balls, and he started dropping F-bombs. And he stormed out, but then somebody left after him and brought him back in, and then he was fine. But it's just the nature of people. Because I was playing in Maine maybe 6 months later, and I was telling this story, and I had my best friends from Long Island, so it's not an anti-Long Island thing. It was just that was what I experienced. So I'm telling the guy from Maine, and he goes, actually, and he was a doctor, and he said, actually, I'm from Long Island. He said, and you have to be raised with a hard shell and to be from Long Island, because we come after each other, and it's expected. Nobody's mad, but it was unusual to me. But the rest of them, it didn't even faze them that happened.
Yeah.
So, but I love playing Long Island. I have a Pickle and Par in Long Island. Have you guys played there? Either one of you?
I haven't been there yet. Ritter's got a good program going over there.
And again, big deal. If the person running a venue is like passionate about pickleball, and that's Andrew Ritter, and he's passionate about.
Oh yeah. I know. I've heard the name. That looks like an awesome facility. I really want to get down there. But
you have to pay Long Island prices, but that's anywhere on Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind paying money to play good pickleball. That's
Yeah, and you get good pickleball. They have some wonderful players along there, really, really high-level players. And they have tons of players. There were so many people, because I'm on a bunch of Long Island Facebook groups. This year, there's been everywhere, but Long Island, I noticed them the most probably. There've been so many new players that in my head, I'm thinking all over the course, out because everybody wants to be outdoors and doing outdoor things. And I thought to myself, what are they going to do when this is all over? This whole virus thing's over. They're going to need so many more indoor venues. There's just so many around us too. I mean, have you guys seen it? Massachusetts, definitely Rhode Island, is exploding.
Oh, it's crazy. Like in the fall,
indoor places, no way.
Oh man, when we were playing outside in the fall, like I couldn't believe the number of times that we would show up and the courts would be full, and I'm like, what are we supposed to do? Like, how are we going to even get on a court? It's crazy how many more people were playing.
Well, I got asked. There's a woman I want to say she definitely lives in New York and maybe Wisconsin, but she was a pro golfer, a woman's LPGA pro golfer, won a couple of majors, and she plays pickleball. So somebody said, oh, she's coming. Can you? So I got a group out of Newport. They said, oh yeah, come. So there was going to be 8 of us. So 2 courts. So we went to, they have Hunter Park, which is 3 pickleball courts and a tennis court that's lined. So we get there early in the morning, done. They're all full. They had another set of courts, maybe four at tennis courts in Newport. We went there full. Then there was an ice skating ring where you had to bring portable nets. So I thought, okay, we'll get on these courts because, how many people got portable nets? 3 courts. Now we needed 2. So in that case, I think 1 was available, but we needed 2. So we left there. So that's the 3rd venue. Then we drove to Portsmouth, Rhode Island, to the middle school. And somebody said, nobody will be there. And we got there and a husband and wife couple were there, and there was only 2 courts. And so they had that court, we actually played with them, but now we had 10, and they were the wife was a beginner, so it wasn't conducive to this pro golfer. But I was like, wow, this is craziness that we.
Is that Sherry Steinhauer? Yeah,
that's exactly who it was. So I think, what is that, like 11 courts on a morning? I mean,
so you ended up playing in Michigan at her place.
You did? Oh no!
You did. You drove to Michigan. Yeah.
Michigan.
Like, no courts available in Rhode Island. Let's drive to Michigan. That's
so
crazy.
Jim, where's one place that you've never played that you want to play? What's on your bucket list?
Well, I've been to it, but I haven't played it yet. Is the Pickleplex in Punta Gorda, Florida.
Okay. Yeah, that place is unbelievable.
Yeah, I was there the day they were pouring cement. I was there. And again, I get around to so many places. It's crazy. But my wife plays, Karen. You know Karen. I don't think you know her, Matt, but Andrew does. So my wife plays. So she went to a pickleball camp. And she's at the pickleball camp, and she meets this woman in her group, and the woman had a shirt. Karen, was it a shirt or a hat? A shirt on. The woman had a shirt on, and my wife said, "Oh, I have that shirt." And she said, the woman said, "No, you don't." She goes, "No, I do have that shirt." She goes, "You cannot have this shirt. There's only one place somebody can get this shirt, and that's from me." And my wife said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Because it's for the Punta Gorda Pickleplex, and I'm on the committee, and I'm the only one who has possession of these shirts, and I'm selling them." She said, "Well, my husband went to Florida last year, and he came home with the shirt." And the woman paused, and she goes, "I met your husband," because she remembered a guy coming up to her in Gilcrest. It was before Pickleplex, so they had some courts there called Gilcrest, and I was literally leaving to come home that day, and I saw a woman sitting at a picnic table selling caps and shirts. I bought a cap for myself, for a friend, and I bought a shirt for my wife. And sure enough, so the woman met my wife, but had already met me. So,
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Another time, I'm playing in Sarasota, Florida. I go to the courts, and there's a woman playing that I had met in Buffalo, New York, and we met in Sarasota. Do you guys might know Jay Penna? He used to live in Massachusetts. It was at Jay's court. So it's a small world, and pickleball connects a lot of dots.
It does. It's crazy.
It is.
It's funny. I wouldn't have thought, like, I don't know. One of the things that I love about playing is that, you know, especially as I've gotten older, as like an older guy, well, not old guy. You wouldn't say that I'm an older. Andrew says I'm old. You probably, Jim, say I'm not that old. But
no,
it's just like,
you're old.
Oh, thanks. That's good. I appreciate it.
I never disagree with Andrew.
No, you don't disagree with Andrew. I'm old. But I don't know. For me, the thing that I love about it is just the people that I've met playing. Like there are hundreds and hundreds of people that I've bumped into and played with and had become friends with that I would not have interacted with in any other way. Like I love just how much it's about the game and the people who you play with, and it's not a lot of other drama that gets brought onto the court. And you know, like Rue Crummett was on the chat here, and he's like a guy here, and his name is Ruan Crummett. He's a guy that I play with here in Belmont, and he's got to be in his 80s. I think he's in his mid 80s. And just the number of people that, you know, who are a generation older than myself that I get to interact with that I probably wouldn't interact with on a daily basis, or even younger people like Andrew, where, like, you know, a couple of 20-somethings that I just other than work, I wouldn't get a chance to bump into people like that. Yeah. And it's been great, man. The friendships that have been built and the ways in which I can, you know, reach out to lots and lots of people now in the way that probably I wasn't able to do. Like for you, it was you were talking about the health, you know, being a benefit for you. For me, it was a mental health benefit more than it was a physical health benefit, where like there just weren't a lot of like people in my life that I was friends with at that time. Right. And man, like once you get hooked into a good group of people, it's just spectacular.
It just grows and grows and grows. It's crazy. I tell people I struggle sometimes in tournaments because 75% of the time I'm across the net from somebody who I don't want to make feel bad that day. That's a true story. And most of my pickleball success is either in an area where I don't know as many people, or if somebody gets me mad early on. And then I able to get over, like, all right, the heck with them. The best tournament, somebody actually got me mad on, somebody I know and love got me mad on a call. And I said, well, forget you. And I went from somebody who would never slam it at this person to slamming it. And then I just carried that over for the rest of the day. So yeah, because you have those affections. And I have so many personal stories and then stories I hear of connections between people. Do you guys know Dan Darrows?
Yeah.
So Dan, I knew his dad first. Dan, I shouldn't have said his last name, but anyway, Dan's dad was a guy called Dino, and I played at a place in Connecticut, in East Lyme, Connecticut. So I used to go there, and there was a bunch of older folks, you know, 70s, 80s, and there was a guy there, Dino, which is Dan's dad. I had no clue, didn't know Dan at all, and I got to know him, and I would play with him. Well, he had brain cancer, and he had already had like cyberknife. So he was, you know, he played pretty well, left-hander, which always drives me crazy. But other than that, really good. And I just get to know him. And eventually one day he showed up on a weekend, some event they had, and his daughter and son were there. And that's how I met Dan. And for about 2 years, the guy fought like the Dickens. But the funniest thing about that guy, as he was so competitive. Him and Dan won like father-son New England tennis champion of 5 years straight. It was like they were both.
Yeah, Dan played at Villanova.
Yeah, and he was a Division I tennis player. But his dad, one time near the end, I show up at pickleball and he says, "Jim, you got to play with me today." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "You're the only one I can trust. I can't see out of my left eye anymore. So you got to cover me on the left eye." And I said, "What do you mean I'm the only one I trust?" He said, "If I tell the other people, they'll hit it to that side." So he said, "You're going to cover me on that side." So here's a guy going through, you can imagine what he's going through. But that was his thought. Just incredible.
Cover me down the middle, Jim.
What's that?
Yeah. Cover me down the middle.
Yeah, yep. Cover me down the middle. Exactly. A great story. This one I've told before. But I was playing at a lower level in Massachusetts, and this woman came up to me at the end, and she said, "You actually know my husband." And I said, "Oh yeah, who's your husband?" And she said who it was, and I said, "What a great guy!" And he really was. I said, "What a great guy!" You guys, I think, wouldn't even know him, or you would, Andrew, anyway. And she said, "Well, my husband had kind of become antisocial." She said he always liked people, but there was no outlet. She said pickleball totally changed my husband back to the husband that he was when we were younger. And I know for me, I don't think I don't think I have the ability to keep my mouth shut or become a recluse. But to some extent, I played all kind of sports when I was younger, so I was always out and about with other people. And now I'm in sales. I'm staying in hotel rooms by myself. So, like you said, Matt, just that network of people in a fun environment where everybody's having a ball. It's just
it's so great. Like, as you know, I mean, I film pretty much every game that we play, and when I'll get ready to upload stuff to YouTube for all of the games and whatnot, and my wife is just like, you guys laugh so much when you play that game. Like, she's like, I don't hear you laugh nearly as much anywhere else other than when you're on the pickleball court. And it's like, I love winning, I love playing, but God, I love laughing on the court. It's like, I'd rather play with, a less competitive game with people who I truly enjoy being out there with than, to have the best game that I've ever played.
Right.
I mean, getting both of those is pretty great.
And often we do get both of those too. So.
Yeah, right. Like playing with Andrew and Chris and, other folks, and, we get some good competitive games, but it's always laughing. You get that Erne, you get that ATP against someone, and you just laughs and laughs. It's so much fun.
That's the best part.
Yeah, there's so much fun when I don't hear laughter in another court. I worry about the other court. What's going on over there?
Yeah, right. Why are you out? Oh, I know.
You're having a blast. You're not doing this right.
Yeah, why are you? If you're not laughing, why are you out here? What's that, Andrew?
Even in tournaments, I mean, you're so competitive. You could be playing a gold medal match, and then after you're probably getting dinner with the team that just beat you, or you just beat, and 20 minutes later down at the Applebee's, you're joking about the shot they hit, and it's just. I never had that in tennis. Tennis was always super competitive.
Right.
I could see the guy at a Cumberland Farms and be like, "Oh, I don't like that guy," but it's not the case in pickleball at all.
Right.
No, it is fun. I love playing against people at tournaments that, like you said, you just go out and get drinks after, hang out, and it's so social. It's so different than how tennis was. Set up a time, meet a guy at a court to play for an hour, and then you walk away, and you're like, I don't even really know anything about you other than that I found your number on Craigslist or whatever to play play tennis at whatever level for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jim, so you mentioned the USAPA a little bit when you found that. So how shortly after you kind of figured out about them did you become sort of an ambassador, and how did that process start?
So I, like I said, I wasn't I was worried about pickleball in the winter, and then I realized that there wasn't a lot going on in Rhode Island at the time, and so it was 2014 when I applied. I think I didn't officially become an ambassador early 2015, but it was 2014 when I applied. I had seen it, and I was traveling a lot, and I was just happier. My wife had finally started playing. It took me about a year and a half to convince her to play, and she had started playing, so I wanted there to be more places for us to play in Rhode Island. And I got really lucky because I was playing at Lime Shores in Connecticut, and one of the tennis pros there's son-in-law rather, was at the YMCA in Westerly, Rhode Island. And so he knew about pickleball from Lime Shores. So because of that, I was able to talk to his son-in-law. His name was Josh. And Josh was pretty new to the Y. So he saw an opportunity to bring something new to the Y. And that worked well. So I started that program, and it kind of grew from there. You guys know about Roadie Pickleball. I kind of do that independent from being an ambassador. You know, I don't shy away from being an ambassador, but I don't promote the USAPA, for instance. It wasn't my Facebook group to begin with, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I've heard that story. You want to share that here? You mind sharing that story here?
That story. So that story is, there was a gentleman named Bob Walker. He was an ambassador. So when I first became an ambassador, we had some email communication. Never talked on the phone or anything, but some emails about getting together, about developing pickleball in Rhode Island. He was like mid-state. I'm in the southern end of the state. So very pleasant. And he ran the Facebook group Roadie Pickleballers. I don't know if I belonged or not. It may have. It had probably like 30 members, but it really was a group for like his venue where he played in Warwick, Rhode Island. So I'm at a tournament in Connecticut, and a guy comes up to me, heard people saying, Jimmy, goes, "Are you Jim Labrosse from Rhode Island?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Jim Labrosse." He goes, "I'm Bob Walker." I'm like, "Bob," so we really sat down right then. And Bob was he was in his 70s, 76, white hair, had a big old pot belly, just kind of Santa Claus, kind of like I look now. And I met his wife, and very sad, but he went out, played a game, won 11-3, sat in a chair, and passed away. He had a massive heart attack and passed away. So I met him that day. And then a few months later, his wife contacted me, said, he's doing something he loves. He died doing something he loved. He had a passion for this. He had this group, Roadie Pickleballers. I'd really like to keep it going. Would you run it? Would you run that group? Keep it going for for his legacy kind of. And I said, sure, I'll do it. I'm not going to say no to that. And then, but we didn't know how to get into it. So I couldn't be the administrator. So literally just sat there for a couple months, and then she found it some way. She found the password. So she gave me the password. So now I run it. I try to keep it very active just because I always think that. It's really his. It's not mine. Now we have almost 900 members. And I kind of I looked around and I see a lot of Facebook groups that are like this group and that group, all great, so everybody can coordinate, if you're playing on the Cape or wherever you're playing, you have a place you can go and can all talk or communicate. I kind of think the name is Roadie Pickleballers, but I kind of like to think of it as a place to connect different groups. Just a centralized place where all the groups can kind of get together and exchange information. A lot of us know each other just because there is some intermingling between groups. And so I try to post as many pictures as I can of other people. I know I'm in a lot of the pictures, but because I'm at those places. I actually have thought in my head, I wish more people would post pictures, but whatever, I don't mind doing that. So I just try to keep it informational. I actually do some things behind the scenes, so for instance, if anybody's out there watching this, if you are an advertiser, but you are not interactive on Roadie Pickleballer, if you are interactive on Roadie Pickleballer, then you can sell something on Roadie Pickleball, but you better be talking to us. You better be part of our community. We all kind of know you and you're active. But if you're just somebody who comes here to drop in advertisements, then I'm going to hide it. So I do hide some things. And other things, when I was hiding some guy, and he must have caught wind of it. He goes, "Hey, how come my post is disappearing?" I said, "Well, you're not interactive on a site." And he became interactive on the site, positively so. So I said, "Sure, as long as you're interactive on the site and you're contributing to the site, you're not just trying to take from the site, you're good."
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think in this area that we sort of have these different little hubs with all these Facebook groups that are sort of cohesive and working together to sort of promote it. But I think compared to down in Florida and down there, it's not as big, but I think it kind of starts with this inner circle and then it kind of branches out. And I mean, there's a new indoor place coming in Hanover, I think it is. Have you guys heard about that place?
Hanover, Mass?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit like a pickle and par, pickle and par and a chicken and pickle. It's like a bar and some pickleball courts. I forgot what it's called. They have a Facebook. If anybody in the chat knows what it's called, just type it in.
How many courts, Andrew, do you know?
I couldn't tell you accurately, but it's I think there's maybe 6 indoor courts and some outdoor courts too. And it's right near Starland.
All right. Is Starland is it not to replace Starland? It's just another.
I don't think they're affiliated with Starland now, but I
Is
imagine
that the Kingsbury Club? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
that
played
facility is
Kingsbury.
awesome, man. That place is great.
Yeah, I
So-
played there. That's a really nice place.
Jim, you're
I
getting some.
literally played in Kingsbury Club tennis with my dad back in the 1970s.
Really?
I did not.
That's awesome.
I pulled up there. I was playing with Rocky, Jessica, Kim, Nancy, Peter. Anyway, they said come to this place, and I have a rule that I won't. If the distance I travel to and from a place, I got to play at least that much pickleball. So if I'm going to travel 3 hours total, I better get 3 hours of pickleball out of it, or I'm not doing it. But I deviated for that one just because I like the people and stuff. And I pulled into the place and I had like deja vu, like, because I didn't, and all of a sudden I walked in the door and it wasn't exactly the same, but all of a sudden, me and I was a 19-year-old kid. My dad was whatever age he was. We're going into this place. It all just came back to me. It was such a cool feeling. Like, oh my God, I've been here before, I don't know if you guys ever experienced something like that, but it was really, it was a very positive memory too. So.
You're getting some love in the chat, Jim. I don't know if you saw.
I actually can't see the chat, even with glasses.
Oh, you got Ed Leica, and he says hello. He's like my favorite Connecticut pickleballer. So
do you know who Ed is?
I do. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I played once against him, but years ago. But
so he likes to tease because the first time we played, I beat him in double.
Oh, good. That's good.
Double.
Is that your claim to fame now?
Well, he was driving it. He was in a tournament, and he was, of course, amazingly good. So everybody's avoiding him as much as they can, and hitting to their partners, including me. But he didn't know, they would stack, and he wasn't sure. So there was a lot of interruptions in the game as people were telling Ed where to go. And I didn't let it bother me. I was just helpful, I just said, because I saw it happening, and I knew it was getting other people's head. But in my head, I'm like, when I play it, I'm not going to let it bother me. I think it just helped me, stay more focused than other people were when I played him. But he always reminds me, you beat me the first time, which I think is kind of neat because he's a high-level competitor.
Yeah, I mean, he won bronze.
Meaningless game. He won gold in the tournament, so it's not like he didn't win the gold. So he wins the gold. He loses to me, and he still remembers that he lost to my team. And I hit him nothing, so it's not even like he lost.
You got bronze last year in men's doubles nationals. So basically, you're at nationals.
For some reason, I thought it was silver. Is it bronze?
Oh, no, it was silver. I think it was silver. Sorry.
Because the bronze medal match, if I remember right, was a really good one. They had a lot of chances to lose it, and they held on. And he had a between the leg shot. Between the leg dink, if I remember right. It was oh my. Those people are so amazing. He was amazing. He was I'd never played with a pro at anything. And the first time I ever played that guy, I was like, okay, this is something. I had played with some of the best players in Connecticut, but nothing like that. It was just
so, I mean, you basically.
I know, Jim,
I didn't beat him. I beat the team he was on. Yes, I did not beat him. But the other thing I always said about him, I never seen anybody get close to hitting one of his overheads back. Now, I'm sure people have, but when I played with him, if he hit an overhead, he was winning that point. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And it was right then. He'd hit the ball, win the point.
Yeah, he hits the ball hard.
Oh, he's a monster. He's a monster. And he's kind of got that I think he's Romanian, so he would have that, the communication was kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger-ish. So you kind of but then when you get to know it, you got to know him, you're like, oh my God, this guy's such a good guy. So I really end up liking Evan a lot. What was the other? I was going to say another story about him. I forget.
You remember Sabi? He was here in the.
I was thinking of Sabi when I was.
So I think they play together quite a bit.
They did. And Sabi was probably the best in Connecticut, other than Eden, but Eden was crazy.
Yeah. Oh no! I think the only time that I played against Sabi, I got hit right square in the nuts. He hit me from just 10 feet away, 14 feet away, and I got dropped right to the ground in a tournament because he just wailed on the ball hard, and I just collapsed into the ground.
Oh, that would be painful. Sabi and I played a lot together, and we played a lot on the same team because a lot of people would get offended because he was really good. And he would take most of the balls. And when I had started playing with my wife, she was brand new. We played in a tournament. She'd been playing 3 months, never played she was a high level athlete in high school, but no paddle sports. So she was a good athlete. And the first tournament we played in, I was like a madman, kind of like Savvy is. So I kind of knew, like, if I'm playing with Savvy, he's going to take most of the court. And I actually prided myself on getting balls that he couldn't get, but being there. And even though his paddle might be in front of me, being so focused that I could hit the ball. So I think he liked that about me, that I didn't moan and complain about it. I just said, I'm going to make the best of this and get whatever I can get.
So I actually got a little more info about that Pickles place in Hanover. So, sorry, technical difficulty here. So there's going to be, it's climate controlled. There's 6 indoor tournament-sized courts. I don't think this is a regular court.
Yeah,
2 small okay, no, because it's the next line. 2 small dinking courts, and then 4 outdoor courts, and then a players' lounge, a mezzanine viewing area, and then a beer and wine cafe. So
that sounds awesome,
you guys can play. I'll be at the cafe, and there's a real retail shop too. So I'm interested.
Wow. Do you know who's behind it? Is it a pickleball player behind it?
No, so they followed a ton of people on Facebook, and I haven't seen like who's behind sort of all of it, but it sounds interesting. I mean, it's in Hanover, and it says I think it's coming out in the spring, so it'll be interesting. Definitely gonna make my way down there.
Well, I don't want to speak out of school about the pickleball islands, but the place I was telling you, but in speaking to him, he was pretty open about it. He said, I couldn't do this for a living. He said, I couldn't make, this business, if I didn't have already made my way in life, this wouldn't be my income stream. So I get asked a lot by people. I know a guy, hopefully it's still happening. I haven't talked to him in a while, but on Long Island, who is going to be opening an ice skating rink. Not a roller skating rink, and then put pickleball courts in the middle. And I've actually seen that at 2 other places in New York where it's worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I'm very hopeful for that guy, but he's got a passion for it. So I think it'll work out if you have a passion for it. But the moneymaker is going to have to be the roller skating rink, probably not the pickleball.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you mentioned that you can't really make a living off of owning a pickleball facility. So
I wouldn't. I'm no expert on this. So
no. Wait, hold on. Jim said that you can't make a living off of owning a pickleball facility. That's what he just said. I think that's what I heard. Allegedly, right?
But so do you think there's ever going to be a time period, or how far out in the future do you think that will be something that can happen, where pickleball is taking over tennis, and you can just open up a pickleball facility? Like how far in advance, how long do you think that's going to be? 5 years, 10 years down the road? I mean, it's obviously growing a lot.
Yeah, I'm not much on the economics of things. I think like chicken and par, I actually heard that, it's all in the alcohol in the restaurant where the money is being made, but the pickleball is part of the attraction. So, and I know Pickleball Island that was adding cornhole. Since I've been up there, they've redone it. So they're doing some things. I know there's some roller skating rings. A lot of the tennis places have developed pickleball programs around tennis, and that seems to have worked. So I don't know standalone. It can definitely work now as like a supplement to something else you're doing. If you get the space, it's just being wasted. I've mentioned Lime Shores in Connecticut a few times. They embraced it early on, and they developed. So one of the things is you have to develop the program, like you've seen, Andrew, in Dartmouth. You have to get a certain baseline of players that then will show up, and the big number, and then you can fill the courts. But you have to develop that. So you need somebody. In the case of Dartmouth, the owners love pickleball. They're pickleball. In East Lyme, they brought on Kathy Reedy and Margot, and they love pickleball. So if they were dependent on the tennis place to develop those programs, I don't think it would have worked, because the tennis players didn't really. You need somebody in New Canaan. The people being paid are the pros for the most part, of the tennis pros, but they connected to influential people in the pickleball community who then brought other people in, because I've seen this happen. So there is a pickleball place in Oxford, Connecticut, that's standalone, membership. It's a beautiful place, 4 courts. And, I heard the guy who owns them does tennis courts. Again, I don't know if this is true. I just heard this, but so I don't know if he's doing it at this point. to make a living off of it, but it's been around a few years now. So, and it's definitely grown. There's more and more players there. I've played there several times. So, you know, you just got to do it in a certain way. And he's that's not in the middle of any hubbub there either where he is. So he's got players coming there, but he developed a program. He brought in people that were part of the pickleball community. He brought in an Andrew or Matt, somebody like that to, you know, I'm not saying full time or paying them a fortune either, but somebody who was willing to help develop the program.
That's actually that's a good question for you, Jim. Because so one of the things that I found incredibly disappointing, but also it's probably on my own fault slightly, is that there's just not an active pickleball community here in the Boston area. I mean, they're in the surrounding area there is, but there's nothing in it. Like, I live pretty close to the city. Like, I live
about Malden.
I live in Watertown, which is like, it's right up against Boston. But like, and there's stuff that happens out on 128, but there's just not a lot that's happening inside the city at all. And you know, as much as I love traveling to, you know, play with great players, I would really love to just, you know, roll out my door and see them. And I'm curious, like, what do you think is required to build a good pickleball community?
Well, so like New York City doesn't have a ton going on in that immediate area. When I went to New Orleans on a cruise, I was desperate to play some pickleball on the way out. They really had nothing at that time going on. I think there's a lot of expenses in those areas. There's a lot to do culturally and everything else in the cities. So people who go into the city or live in the city are probably not necessarily the pickleball crowd, generally speaking. But I think you have to have, you talk about the outskirts, like people from Boston who do want to play probably go to some of those places on the outskirts like yourself. You just have to have that group of that pool of people be the demand. The demand has to be there, especially if you're in a city, because that's going to be a big ticket for those people. So for them to put a venue in Boston or, you know, right around Boston, it's going to be a very expensive proposition. And if that community is not already there, then, but you know what? I've been to these courts. There was somebody posted a picture of people shoveling courts just outside of Boston down Route 9.
Yeah, it was in my neighborhood in Belmont. They were shoveling all the courts.
They were horrible courts, but the people
they are terrible.
Waited so long to play there because it was so. I never went back again. The people were wonderful, but you just waited a long time to get a game in. But those people are zealous. I mean, here they are. Man. They're one of the people out there shoveling courts so they can get the game in. So
that's where I started playing. Those courts, they were a mile from my house. That's where I started playing with like all these like retirees who because when I went down to Florida to learn how, like my parents go down to Florida for snowbirding, and I learned how to play down there. And when I came back up, I didn't know anyone up here who was under the age of 70 who was playing, you know, and so I found a group of people in Belmont to play with, and they were all, you know, retirees for the most part, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. But it's, you know, it's tough to find good people to play with. And, you know, finally, once I landed a good group to play with, it took off for me, and I was like hooked hard. And that's the thing, is like, I'm trying to find like younger people here in the city to play, but, because there's really good tennis, there's good racquetball, there's good squash here in Boston, but you know, trying to find younger people who are like, you want me to play pickleball? And I'm like, yeah, no, you really need to come out and play pickleball because it's a lot of fun.
Keep in mind about that, though. So I think it's just the nature of young people. I mean, I played a million things when I was younger. My son, when he plays regularly, he's like Andrew, good. He's like, you know, him and Matt Saccone have had some battles through the years, him and Chris Roulette. He gets really good. But you know what? It's his third favorite thing to do. Flag football is number one. Golf is number two of all things, because that's another old person thing. But golf, and then, but when I was his age, I was playing volleyball was my best sport. I played tennis, I played basketball, I bowled, I did everything. So I think to get young people, it's easier to get the old people, because really, I'm an example. I would do anything if I had fun doing it, and the only thing now, I don't enjoy golf that much, you know, here and there, but I couldn't do it regularly. I did enjoy tennis, so that I could have kept doing, but you know, it wasn't like pickleball. You know, like pickleball just brings you in all the time. So I just think pickleball, fortunately or unfortunately, as you get older, it's like one of the few things you can do versus when you're younger, when you can do anything. And when you can do anything, sometimes you do things other than play pickleball.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think a lot of it too has to do with just the amount of younger people that are in it. And there's not a lot, so I think that's unattractive to a lot of younger people. Because I mean, under the age of 30, who do you have? Like me, Chris, Matt, and then in this area at least, and like all of my friends are like, "Oh, you're playing pickleball? Like, what's the average age that you're playing with? Like 70?" And I'm like, "Well, depends who's there." But I think it's the unappeal of not having a younger demographic involved, and I think that once there is more of a younger age group, I think it'll sort of hopefully spike up, and a lot of people that aren't going to have any sort of tennis career can realize that they can be competitive in pickleball, and that's what attracted me to it.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's all these kickball leagues here in the Boston area. So like if you're in your 20s and you want to like have a social activity to do, like a social physical sport activity thing to do, you join one of like the kickball leagues. And I'm like, kickball's fun. Like, don't get me wrong, but like
is Savvy in that league?
Yeah, I don't want to be anywhere close to Savvy kicking a ball, like a big kickball. But the social piece of pickleball is so great. And I feel like if these younger social physical sport groups could figure out that like, oh, you know what we can do is like, we'll get a bunch of people out on the court and then people will sit on the bench and hang out and drink beer or whatever while they're playing. Like it would take off, and we just have to get some of the younger folks in.
Well, you know who you need to talk to, Matt? There's a guy playing in Rhode Island. His name's Jeremy Dubois. He goes up by the name Quack Duck on Facebook. He runs a company called Super Fun Activity Club out of Providence, and he runs kickball leagues and dodgeball and volleyball. And he's crazy about pickleball. He's crazy about it. But he was telling me there's a reason why it wouldn't work. It was the indoor space in cities. That was
that might be it.
I can get everything else indoors. I cannot get pickleball. This is not enough. Because although the courts aren't that big, it's only 4 people in that space.
That's fair.
You're only occupying 4 people in that space. So he was saying, it wouldn't work for his, and that's what he does. So, it's all about, and for him, like his company, like if you want to win more than have fun, then you're not for his club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
You
say, I don't mind you wanting to win, but your first priority is fun, then win, not win, then fun. So
yeah, exactly.
So there's a few good comments in the chat. So there's a first one from Zorano saying he's talking to you. He's referring to you as Santa Jim, and he says chug that last bit of wine and then refill.
By the way, this wine, thank you, Beth. One of my YMCA pickleball players who I introduced to the sport just stopped over. I was actually in the shower, so I didn't get to see her personally, but it's called Freak Show, and she thought it was appropriate for me to have something called a Freak Show, which is very good. Thank you, Beth, if you're watching.
So then there's another good comment by Cliff Texera. He's an ambassador too in Rhode Island, right?
He's the head of Rhode Island ambassador.
Okay. Yeah, so he says there's been USA Pickleball talk of introducing pickleball into their college-level intramural sports programs and interscholastic programs at high schools. So I think that's interesting. If they did it as an opposite spectrum of when tennis goes off in high school, I think a lot of the tennis players would play both.
You'll be very interested in this. As an ambassador in the Springfield area, his name's Greg Rota, R-O-T-A. And he actually introduced it. He's
actually in the chat. He's in the chat, Jim.
So he can probably tell you. I'm sure he can tell you more than me. But he actually introduced it. I guess you have to propose for something to become part of whatever the interscholastic agency is. And he wrote up a whole proposal. It was so cool. It was like co-ed. It was so unique. It was small. Like the team wouldn't be very big. I remember the numbers were, but that's probably good because it wouldn't be that expensive for a school to do it. So he's really driving something in that regard, Andrew. So you're right. I mean, if you get the kids young, my nephews all played in New York. They played in New Paltz, New York. They knew about pickleball before me. I never had heard of it. But when I told them I was playing, they're like, oh, we played it. They have a high school championship every year. The place went crazy. The stands were full of kids rooting. Like, I guess they played in gym class, and then the best players in the end met at the end of the year, and the whole school was there to watch these matches. It was really cool. And
I'm interested to see how far it'll go, and I think it starts in high school and college. And I mean, there's obviously been those rumors about like, will it ever be an Olympic sport? And it's just, I think it's really special how infant pickleball is, and we're sort of on the upslope of it, and just like seeing where it's going to end up is really cool to be a part of.
Yeah,
we get to shape what it's going to be. That's what's cool about it, man. Like, and I think Jim, you're out there shaping it every day, which is super cool. So.
I'm really blessed because I get to introduce so many people to it. I always tell people, like, I don't teach pickleball. I'm just not a good teacher. I'm not patient, but I'm a good introducer. Like, I'm a good person to go, hey, this is a game. These are the rules, blah, blah, blah. Come on, let's play, and stop banging around and have some laughs. That I'm very good at. And I get to meet so many people early on in so many people early on in pickleball. Just this week, there was a guy in the Marines, Ryan. His name's Ryan, and he got stationed in Newport. And
Ryan Jones.
Ryan Jones. Ironically, it's not Ryan Jones, but Ryan Jones is an Army officer in Newport.
Okay.
This guy, Marine officer, so he said, I want to play this game. Can anybody? So I met him at Dartmouth. And I got to play with him, and you can tell he's going to be good. And he left like Dartmouth tennis, and he went and bought a paddle for himself and his 10-year-old son. And then he sent me a video of him and his son playing at Hunter Park in Newport. I mean, how can I, now here's a dad and his son playing with the mom videoing. You just can't beat that. And the way I feel about it, like I have some role in that. That's I'm fortunate. I'm the lucky one when it comes to that stuff. And I just have a good temperament that way. I'm okay. I don't have to be playing. I love competitive. I get plenty of competitive play, but I just am able to play at a lower level and still have fun. And, when I first traveled, the funniest thing was, I don't know how many places I went to, I was the best player they had ever seen in person. It's a very ego set. And I was a 3-5. And they'd be like, oh, what do you do? They'd be asking me stuff, and I'm like, well, yeah. And then I go home and get my ass kicked. And reality would be back in.
But I think that's one of the things that's great about you, Jim, is like you definitely give more than you take from the sport, for sure. It's like I aspire. I'm I don't know. I'm a 50-50 person, I would say. I think I'm definitely not out there spreading the love as much as you are about the sport. But it's a fun thing. I tell everyone about it that I can. But it is for sure a thing that you're doing, Jim, is out there, and you are 100% putting more in than you're taking out. So
I tell people, because there is that conflict between levels, and people wanting to be on some courts and other people not wanting, and I hate that. I hate it. I hate to say it, but I usually blame and I straddle the courts all the time. So I feel like I'm, but I'll tell you what, let's put it this way. I played last year in a group, and I went, and there were 3 4.5 plus players, 4 4.0 plus players, myself included, and then somebody who was in between us. And those of us who were 4.0 plus never went on that 4.5 court, because we said, when do they have this opportunity to do that? And I feel, unfortunately, sometimes there's that pressure that you're not social or you're not friendly because you want to have some competitive games. And I don't begrudge anybody that. My son, who I said, it's not his priority, but when he plays, he wants to play competitive games because he's an accountant. He's young. He bought a house. He does these other things. He doesn't. That's not his thing. To me, I became an ambassador of pickleball almost like a charitable thing. That this is a good thing I can do for other people. Other people do other charitable things. Like, pickleball is not the most important charitable thing to be doing. You could be feeding homeless and lots of other things much more important. I don't do those things. This is what I do. So that's fine for me, but not everybody. We need people to be doing other stuff, other charitable things. So, Matt, I'm sure you do things in your life that are very noble and good for other people, and then you want to blow off some steam. I mean, I ran my program. I would go and see. For 2 years, I ran that darn program, insisting everybody get up to the net. Everybody do this. Everybody do that, because you got to play the right way at pickleball. And then one day I show up, and they're all banging the ball at each other, and they're laughing and they're having a ball. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
They don't want to play that other game. They're having a ball. And it was like an epiphany for me. So
it is. It is. No, for sure. I'm not beating myself up about it, but it is like the respect that I have for what you do and what, Paul Lambers was in the chat earlier. He's a great ambassador of the game. He's not an official ambassador.
He's not an ambassador, but he is. I've met so many ambassadors who aren't official ambassadors.
Oh man, but he's he's introduced so many people to the game, and there are people that I know who are just like that. And it as you said with your son, like it's tough for me. Like, I have very limited time to get out there and do what I'm going to play, and when I'm there, I want to play at a certain level. So to go jump into like open play, and it's so hard to do. And I feel I wish I could be better about trying to spread that out. That's why I still go to Belmont in the summertime, like when it's outdoor courts, it's a mile from my house. I'll just drop in and say hi to people and play. But it's so hard. I wish people were more introspective on the whole topic. I wrote if you dig down into Rotary Pickleball, I wrote a big long thing one time about it. That there's just not enough respect for the higher level players when it comes to this stuff. And it basically what you end up doing. So this has been my philosophy, and I get in a lot of high level games. I get to play with Andrew sometimes, and I get in them because I keep my mouth shut. I stay long, and then when you run, literally this happened to me in Ohio. I got to play with some 5-0s simply because I sat on another court and served for an hour, practiced my serve for an hour until they ran out of people. And they came over and said, well, this guy's been serving all this time. He must be good enough to get his serves in, which is a misnomer. But anyway, and I got invited to play. And I didn't begrudge them 1 second when I wasn't invited to play. And when I did get to play, I was so grateful that I did get to play. Because nobody's owed anything. Nobody owes anybody anything. And there's a little bit of that around. And I don't like it. You guys, I remember and I don't even like the uncomfortable feeling. I don't know if you guys remember this, but you remember when I ran into you, Andrew, and Andover that time. So I got invited to the group to play. So I show up. I have no clue you guys are going to be on the court. You, Manny, Ron, you two, Manny and Ron were there. And then because I don't think Christy's been there when I've been there, but whatever. I so much don't want to I don't want to be on another court having other players going, oh, Jim's here. He's going to think he's going to play. I don't want to be that person. I always try to go over and say, hey, have fun. I got the game I got. It's fine. It's fine. It's
such a fine line because there are people that there's a couple of different buckets of people, right? So people that think they belong on the upper court and they're just not there yet. And that's the one bucket. And there's a bucket where it's like they're right there, but they just aren't exposed to that level of play where they're never going to get there because they don't have the opportunity to play there. And those are the people that you want to focus on and develop them because eventually they will be there and you'll have.
But it's in your best interest to do that. And not you personally, but I see that when those people come along, they get welcome. People recognize it.
No, absolutely.
You want them. You want that pool to grow. So
yeah, and it's so tough. I know Eric at Dartmouth Indoor is one of the people that sort of are trying to head that charge. And
he's always the bad guy.
You want to have high level play, but you also don't want to deter people from the sport. I would never want to be the reason that somebody was like, oh, I didn't get to play with them. I don't want to play the sport anymore. And there's a time and a place to get better, and then there's a time and a place to grow the sport and play with everybody. And that's what those open plays are for. And if you have the time to actually do it, I go to open play all the time. And there are some people who are like, why are you here? You're too good. And it's like, well, you don't want to play against people that are a little bit better than you to learn. And then there's people thank you so much for coming. And that's why I go for the people that are like, oh, thank you for coming and playing. It's like, don't thank me for coming. I'm just happy to be playing. I don't care who I play with.
And you're probably one of those guys who can figure out something you can do that's going to improve your game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the fun part when you go to the open play and you're like, well, what I'm going to do is try to keep the ball in play as long as possible. How do we keep the play in long as possible?
So much fun. It's so much fun to do that. It's so much
fun when people don't.
The orchestra leader or something.
Yeah, it's fun because when people don't realize that that's what you're trying to do, you're like, look, man, maybe I could probably put that ball away a couple of times, but I'm just going to lay it back in there nice and soft for you. And you're going to have the best point. That's the fun thing is if you can give someone the best point that they've ever had in their life, then you're like, yeah, cool. Then I did it. That's fun.
I always look to leave a court where people just had fun. If you can be that person that's able to do that, and it's exactly like you said, Matt, if you can extend rallies and I was playing somebody yesterday and I hit a ball out, and the woman said, Jim. And I said, listen. I said, I have never, ever given up a point on purpose. Now, I may not rocket a ball I can rock. I may not hit a line I can hit, but I've never hit a ball out, never hit a ball in the net. Because I said, I wouldn't do that. That's not fair to that person. But I'll continue. Like, I take a lot of pride in like a ball getting past my partner and me being the guy who gets it back and keeps that rally going. You know, it's so much fun.
It is. It's a good game. It gets back to that social component of it for me. Like I love playing with the group of people that I've found up here in Mass to play with. Right. It's just so much fun.
Good people.
I love it. I miss it. I wish. Yeah. I mean, I know you're playing a little bit, but I stopped playing, and it's for sure. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. Was like
younger. I mean, everybody has different things.
No, for sure. Right. Everyone has different stuff going on, but like for me, I was like, I missed the social piece of it. I missed the physical for sure, but I was like, that's why I wanted to do these. Was like, how do I talk to Andrew? I love talking to Andrew, right? Like when we play together, he's so much fun.
Right.
Say again, Jim?
This is perfect because my wife and I, some of our best conversations about pickleball strategies, about, it's so much fun. So that at least you can capture that part of it, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. And it really was like, I was talking to Ron York the other day. Like he and I did a video call, not on a stream or anything, and it was just like I missed seeing him. Like it's been a couple of weeks since I've even talked to him.
I don't know what's up with that, Matt, but that's just a joke. Don't take it out.
No, I know, I get it. But it's like for me, doing this is just a great way to catch up with the people that I would normally see 3 times a week for like 9 hours a week, like it's a weird thing for me to not be hanging out and playing with people as much. So
yeah, I mean, I've only been playing for 2 years, right? And some of the people that I talk to every day are pickleball players that I met 2 years ago, and I consider them some of my closest friends. It's unbelievable how pickleball kind of unites people, and you can form friendships over it, and it's awesome. It's great.
I met a woman who plays pickleball in Western New York last year, and she posted something over the holidays about people helping her out. She's a single mom with a couple of kids, great kids. One of her kids is a really good pickleball player. But anyway, I don't know what happened exactly, but she was thanking her pickleball community for getting her through some tough times over the holidays. And I mean, you read that, you're like, wow. That's who got her through. Her pickleball peeps got occupied her kids when she was doing something or whatever. It's just amazing, some of the stories.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I do want to quickly mention Kenny and Dee, because I talked to him right before this call, and I told him I mentioned it, and Kenny said if I did, he'd give me $5, so I might as well make some money.
So you're making
$5.
Well, we don't have an appearance fee yet, Jim, so we can't pay people to show up on but we're trying to work on some sponsorships. That's the piece. Is like we're gonna do some breakdowns on some gear and see if we can get some sweet free stuff.
Good luck with that. That. Kenny's old, so he probably didn't even make it this far. He's probably napping on his couch right now.
Yeah, if there's anybody in the chat that you guys think we should talk to or sort of discuss things with, definitely drop their names. Even if you're one of the people in the chat, message us privately and just be like, hey, I'd like to hop on and talk, because like Matt said,
it was great. You should talk to Greg about the interscholastic thing at some point.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'd love to learn more about that, because when I heard about that, I wanted to teach at my coach at my daughter's high school.
We talked about this before, Matt.
Yeah, no. When I saw the thing for MIAA come out, I was like, man, I would love to coach. So I'd love to talk to Greg about it. We'll get him on the stream.
Yeah, so bring him on. And Z's always good to talk to. He's kind of like me. He's all over the place, and he's got a lot of pickleball things going on. Z, I've known. He was one of the first places I traveled, was out to the middle of nowhere. But so Z was in Endicott, New York, which is down in the southern tier, like near Binghamton, if you know where that is.
Yep.
So I play with Z, and then I'm playing one night in Lakeville, and I'm talking to this woman I just met that night or the night before, and somehow Z came up, and she knew him. because she lived in Endicott at one time, and then she knew another pickleball player, a high-level pickleball player in Albany. So I mean, that's just those connections are just so crazy. Those connections in pickleball are crazy, and they're fun.
I don't think you're gonna get to see that $5, Jim. By the way, it seems like there was not an actual shake on that $5. So,
is there comments going on?
Yeah, Ken is saying in the chat, he's like, I don't think we shook on that, and then he's like, I'm still up, and Dee said she beat you in singles. So
Dee did beat me in singles. She did. I have to admit that. But Dee's better than me overall when she don't have the yips. By the way, the rule on the bounce serve, that rule was created for Dee because I contacted USA Pickleball, and I told them they need to come up with the bounce rule because my friend Dee gets the yips way too often, and they came up with that rule for her.
Is that a true story? I can't believe. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
It's not close to true at all.
It seems like it was.
That's true. Say that's true.
It was a mostly true story.
Well, the yip part of it is true. They say the bounce serve is a good cure for the yips. That it's easier. In fact, when I first started playing pickleball, a lot of the women players in Connecticut were retired gym teachers, and they knew about pickleball from gym class. That was one of their rule modifications. They had some rule modifications so the less athletic kids could play, and one of them was to do the drop serve because it's just an easier serve for people to learn. So it will help. I think it will help develop. I'm not for or against any of the rule changes, but I think it will help at least people who struggle. Maybe people who didn't play tennis before and things like that will have an easier time.
Jim, you're getting all kinds of love in the chat. It's great. You're a great guest for this because you get the latest comment is
from, I can badmouth these people.
Z is saying that you should. He wants you to put a straw in that bottle of wine and let's see Jim get real chatty quick.
Not chatty enough for me, huh?
I was going to say.
Hey, Z. Yeah. Z, I don't know if you guys caught this. So I sent Z a calendar the last couple of years. And last year when I sent him a calendar, I put on my birthday, which is October 25th, if anybody wants to get me a present. But I wrote on there when I gave him the calendar, it's like a day planner, so you wouldn't see it right away. I wrote on there, Jim's birthday, send present. You know I got a present. And my wife and him were in cahoots. So I open it up and I'm looking at it and I'm going, who's it from? And she said, Karen, how'd you show it to me? Put your head in this so people can see you. And this is not talking to one. My wife?
I was getting ready to take the dog out.
Hey, Karen.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So anyway, how did he tell me?
He actually sent me a text and with a picture of the calendar, with a picture of the calendar where Jim had written send gifts. So he's like, I need a gift idea. I'm like, you don't have to do that. He goes, oh, I'm doing it.
So I got myself a pickleball bag.
So yeah, so he sent it in my name, and I said, you have to open this, and I'll tell you where it's really from after you open it. But you knew right away as soon as you got it and saw a pickleball bag, you went, oh, I showed you the picture, and I showed him the picture.
As soon as I saw the picture, I came flashing back what I did. But the funny thing about that, though, is I've done that to many calendars in the past because I give away a lot of calendars, and no one's ever sent me a gift. So Z gets the award for that. Hysterical.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. Z's calling you guys pickleball royalty, by the way. So, which seems true. I got to say, like, I have not met anyone quite like you, Jim, in the sport so far. It's been, well, that's a compliment. That is a compliment. So, but
I'm trying to
been fun.
I think it's from the wine, though.
It might be. I do
get a lot of compliments, and it does make me feel very humble because it's not, like I said, there's people doing much greater things. I think I call myself, I'm not Pickleball Teresa instead of Mother Teresa.
It really was, though. I was like, when Andrew and I were tossing around, like, who, we did this last week or last Saturday, and we were thinking about like who to bring on, and we're like, oh, it'd be fun to talk to other people, and it was like, let's get Jim, and I was like, yes, let's get Jim. It's gonna be fun. So it has been fun for sure. So
thank you for asking me, guys. This was fun to do. It's nothing I like. The only thing I like, even close to playing pickleball, is talking. So, so pickleball. Tell me a little bit about Pickleball Yo. Is it something you're going someplace with? Is it? I like the name.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just want to try to do it weekly for now and see what we do. And, Andrew and I, like, we actually prepared a little bit. We put together some notes and we had like topics and things to chat about. So, I don't know. I don't know if I would feel like it's like an official thing that he and I are going to do for the long haul, but it is certainly something that's fun to do this winter while like I'm not leaving the house too much. So
right. And
but it is like
it's kind of another thing. It's connecting people,
Yeah, like I said, like, and that's, I said to Andrew, like, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was like, who should we talk to next? Because like, I just want to meet new people who that I might have met on the court otherwise right now. And, like I have never met Z before, but I'd love to chat with Z and, same thing with Greg. And
you guys have never met Z? Oh,
no, but like, it's one of those things where I just want to. So you ask what I want to do. I just want to talk to as many pickleball people as possible right now.
It's kind of a self.
Is talk to anybody. It's crazy. We kind of know that in life that everybody's got a story, but I always should have been a talk show host because I can talk to any, as long as if you can ask the questions, and some people are more shy than others, but boy, does everybody have great stories.
Well, it gets a little, we Andrew and I were batting around names for this, like there's Pickleball Yo, and then there's this thing that we're doing. I'm like, I think I'm going to call it 2 Dink Minimum. It's like, you come out here, you get a glass of wine, you have a beer, and people want to talk about pickleball. So like, it's a lot easier to talk about pickleball when you're having a beer or a drink if you want. So 2 Dink Minimum.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a selfish motive, right? Like we miss pickleball and want to fill that void of the connections at tournaments and as much as we're playing. And I think that's at least what I want to get out of it is just meeting new people, like Matt said, and just talking pickleball and fill that void of people that I would be talking to, but I'm not. So there is one thing that Cliff mentioned in the chat. He said, one less thought. I have not played in over 3 weeks due to Rhode Island COVID pause. I try to play within my own area of players. We'd have all of our indoor venues closed, but I not begrudge anyone who has been playing. We all each have our own personal limits. Any thoughts? Yeah. So, I mean, I think that depends on the venue, right? I mean, if you're comfortable playing and it's a small secluded group, then I'd say go for it. But like Cliff said, I'm not going to fault anybody for commencing play. I know Matt's not playing anymore. And I mean, the only thing I have to say on finishing that is I just hope soon we're just back to how it was. Just some sense of normalcy of just playing with everybody. And that's my end goal. And hopefully that's soon.
So my brother, I have lots of brothers, but one of my brothers, he's a chimney expert, and he's actually testified in court on airflow. So I've been hearing about airflow much more than I want to know about airflow my whole, for years. But I'm big when it came to this virus, and I started watching. So personally, if the air is changing, like outside, I have no worries. I've literally said, not that I would do it, but I would feel I could play outdoors if I'm not talking to anybody directly. People could have it, and I'm not worried. First of all, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I do have a science background, and to me, this is the if you're outside, it's like peeing in the ocean. Unless somebody's peeing right on you, you don't care that somebody peed in the ocean. If you're inside, you have to think of the space you're in. So if the space you're in is the size of a swimming pool, man, you really don't want them doing it. It could have some impact. Be aware of it. Don't let them do it. Take precautions, but it probably isn't the end of the world. But if you're in a puddle, you don't want anybody peeing in that puddle with you. So I do encourage people to be aware of the space you're in, and not just about pickleball. Be aware of the space you're in everywhere. Most people get in this in their homes, and they get in their homes for one reason, because we've all made our homes energy efficient, and they're sealed tight like a drum. This is my brother speaking, by the way.
Jim, I have all of my windows open all of the time, all winter long. My heating bill is insane, but my windows are wide open right now.
So. And that's right. That's because the minute you open your window, I've seen video. It was before the virus, but it was of particles in the air, and they showed the particles sitting in the air, and you're walking through them. Let's say you're in your house and somebody in the house had the virus, the particles in the air, and you're walking through it. Boom, 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 boom. And every time you're walking through it, you're breathing and breathing. They opened 2 windows in that house under infrared, instantly gone. All those particles went out the window because the air came in. There's technical terms for what happens, but basically air goes in, air comes out. It's all fresh air. It's not contaminated air anymore. So just be aware of the airspace. And then huge one for me is people have convinced themselves, I'm not anti-mask, wear a mask, but a mask is not a suit of armor. A mask is like an extra layer of protection. So if you would not go into a space, if you looked at a space and thought, I'm not going in there, don't put on a mask and then go into that space, because a mask is only going to improve your chances by some degree, but it's not a suit of armor. It doesn't. And I see a lot of people who go, I wouldn't go there, but I'm going to put on a mask, and now they're going to go there. No. If you wouldn't go there, don't go there just because you're putting on a mask. So I
think Ken said that he peed on you in a pool one time, and he's sorry.
Ken's drunk most of the time, so that's very possible.
Well, that's the great thing about this show is like we get a little tipsy by the end of it, so it's pretty good.
I want to be on the show now that he knows drinking's involved.
So Kim Pradach, I definitely answered that right now.
One of the twins, yeah.
Okay, yeah. She asked where we're from. So I grew up in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. Southern Mass, near New Bedford, Fall River area. So I was in Braintree, moved back home post-pandemic, but that's where I live. And Matt, you're in Watertown, right?
Yeah, I grew up in northern Maine, and now I'm down here in the Boston area.
I didn't know that. I had no idea you grew up in northern Maine. So
I did, like in about 45 minutes from Canada. So
wow.
All we got growing up was the CBC. We watched this night in hockey in Canada, and a lot of French Canadian people up where I grew up. So
Kim and her sister's name is Robin. I played with Robin in New Jersey at a venue in New Jersey, and maybe a month later. Now she mentioned she had a twin sister, but then a month later, I'm playing in Oxford, and then her sister's there. It was crazy. And I'm like, because I'm thinking I'm playing with the same person because they're identical twins, but I wasn't playing with and they were both amazing pickleball players, very good, and both of them have.
That's a good question for you, Jim. Who's the best pickleball player you've ever played with, other than Andrew?
Erne is the best.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I've played with other really good players, but Erne's probably the best. Again, another loaded question because, here's a funny story. There was a player.
No, you can pick more than one. How about that?
Okay. Well, let me tell you the story first of why this is a loaded question. So there was a player who you would all know well, near and dear, and he was playing with me a little bit. And at the time, I was a 3.5, and he was probably a little better than me, but I didn't think he was vastly better than me at the time. Though I knew he was younger, he would be. And he came up to me one time. He said, Jim, what level do you think? I said, well, I'm a 3.5. I think you're probably a little higher than me, but still 3.5. You haven't hit 4.0 yet. And then 2 weeks later, he went to the regionals and won 4.5 in doubles. And I didn't know he wasn't happy with my rating at that time until he won 4.5 in doubles. And then I found out because he made sure I knew that he won 4.5 in doubles. So I kind of avoid rating people, but I've been just so lucky to play with so many good players. I mean, really, everywhere I go, I seem to be welcomed to play. And up in Maine, they accommodate me all the time. Some great players up in Maine. There's great players.
There's no good players in Maine. That's what I'm saying right now. I'm stating that out loud.
Well,
I'll just throw it out there. All of them terrible players.
I'll tell you that.
I'll throw it down. I'll let them know. All of them.
I mean,
Ryan,
Art. I think you just called out.
I think Chris.
CJ, Ryan, Art, terrible. They're all awful.
CJ and I talk about laughing. The first time I ever played with CJ, we just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed for the. I don't know if I've ever laughed as much with one person the first time I ever met him. It was like one big laugh fest. I don't even remember why. Oh, it was hysterical. And then Krista and I have laughed a lot too since. His girlfriend Trista. So hopefully they're still girlfriend. So I said that. But you know Krista?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you know who I think is maybe one of the best players I played? Chris Ouellette. But you know who I think is one of the best players I've ever played with? The woman you play with, Matt. What's her name?
Oh, Christy.
Christy. I played with her a couple times. She's the closest I've ever come to somebody besides like that had that Eden thing. I'm like, this woman's like crazy. She's doing things that if I started at 1 year old playing pickleball and played every day till today, I couldn't do. You know, just you know, she's just.
That's the thing. Andrew and I were talking about this last week. Like, I don't think any tournament that she's ever played in, I think she's only ever won gold. So.
Yeah. She seemed like I don't know her well, but it seems like a wonderful person. But man, her game is wow.
Greg, all right. Cindy from Palmer, all right, best female in Mass. All right, we'll see. Well, I might take that on if we could find a good mixed game because Christy, that girl kicks ass. So she's very good.
I think we just kind of set ourselves up for a Mass First Main Challenge, Matt, post pandemic.
I can't wait.
You guys are creating enemies while we're trying to be nice here.
No.
These are soft enemies. It's all soft enemies.
Oh, okay.
So. Well, wait. If it's pickleball enemies, I can do that.
So
I don't want to be like enemy.
Who do you guys think's the best players that you played with? Then I'll just go nod. Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what's easy for me is like I actually played with both Simone and Kyle. So like I took a lesson down in Florida. So that's an easy answer for me. Right. I played with both Simone and Kyle. So they're clearly the best players that I've ever played with. Right. So
I played with well, I didn't play on the same court with them. So the first time I went to Rochester, New York, it wasn't part of my sales territory. Then it became part of my sales territory. So I went to Valenti Sports. So they were pretty well known in pickleball. They've since sold, but the Valenti family. And I was seeing videos. Some of the first videos I saw were out of the Rochester, New York area. And those boys can talk some smack. I mean, they just constantly yakka. So I had heard about the Valenti. So now I'm going to go to Rochester on business. So I want to find pickleball play. And I can't find anything on USAPA that's panning out. So I said, I'm going to go over to this Valenti Sports. They're connected to pickleball and ask where I play. So I go there. I get the dad. His name's Joe. Good guy. So Joe Valenti, he plays pickleball, but he's more my level. He wasn't like his boys are. So he tells me, well, they play at this park. You got to go to this park. So now I had told them what I was. I think I was a 4-0 at that point, I think. So I said, 4-0. So I go to this park, and sure enough, there's 8 people. So I'm thinking, as I'm approaching, I'm going, well, I'm not going to get in the middle of 8 people. It's a perfect number. I'm not going to be the 9. But I go sit there in stands. So I'm watching these people play, and they are good. It turns out one of them was Rob Cassidy before he went pro. Oh,
yeah.
And they get done. One of the courts gets done again, the weaker of the 2 courts. But by weaker, I mean you guys level and above. And a guy says, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I'm interested in playing pickleball. Can you guys tell me where to go? And the guy says, oh, well, I'm going to sit out a game. And I was like, no, I did not want to play with the group because I knew it was going to be embarrassment. And they were playing Duras, and I was coming off playing Onyx for the last, 3 months. And they had been playing. I got there. I don't do well under pressure to begin with, but I just suck so bad. And my team lost like 11-1 or something. And it's all these good players. And then the guy that sat out said to me, you want to play again? And I could just, I couldn't see the other people, but I could see their faces, if you know what I mean. I just looked at them and go, no, I really was just looking for a place to play with people like my level. I had no clue where to play, but Rob Cassidy was one of the players. He was probably the best in that group. He was one of the players. So you can imagine just walking out of nowhere and playing with Rob Cassidy's friends.
It's funny you say that because the couple times that I got invited to play, I don't know, each time I got invited to play with a different group of people, I was like, I would hear oh man, you gotta Art Lavoie, you gotta watch out for Art. And
I kick Art.
No. Say again? Yeah, Art was the one who was spreading that around, probably actually.
Yeah,
but, exactly. But I'd get all nervous playing with a new group of people. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I've heard all this. I've heard this about Art. He's so good. And I'd get all Glenn Jordan and all those guys up in Maine. I'm like, oh man, what are we doing? And once I start playing with them, I'm like, oh man, I could play with these guys. This is fun. It's just you slide into having a good time. But the first couple times you show up at a new place, and that must be hard for you. You're going everywhere.
That is very hard. That is very hard, and especially when you want to try to get in with some of the better players. I'm not very good under pressure, but eventually, like once I get to know you and stuff, and I'm also susceptible. Like indoor play, I struggle with lighting. Outdoor play. My game's at least a half level better outside in daylight than it is any indoor place. So it is hard for me to do that, to walk in places. And I've had some disasters. There's a guy, Justin Gazelle, up in the Rochester area. And one time he set me up with play at a JCC up that way. And he had 2 players come who were 4-5s. And we were playing with jugs balls. We were like rotating in. There was like 80-year-old people playing, then we'd play again. And then they play a game. We're playing on these old wooden floors with jug balls. And I actually have a different paddle I use for softer balls versus Duras or Franklin's. I use a different paddle, like a softer paddle that absorbs more of the hardness. And I only had the soft paddle, and I was just horrendously bad. And it's one of those things where you're like, they're not going to invite me back. Understandably so. So there is some pressure there, especially if it's a group you really want to get back.
It's interesting, and I don't know, Matt probably doesn't know this, but so I started playing probably a year after Chris started playing. Yeah, whatever. But when Chris was going to Wilmington, I was like, hey, like I'd love to go down to the Wilmington group. He's like, yeah, I'll bring you down next time I come. So I went up there, and it was like that same scenario of like, okay, this is like good play, and I was still playing pickleball like a tennis player at the time, and
I remember.
Yeah, so Matt was one of those guys where I was like, okay, I got to play good, and now I'm like, oh no, I can play with Matt, and it's just interesting to see how much you like progress going forward, and it's fun.
Well, just fun, man. You get to a group and you go, I can't play with these people.
Oh, it sucks, man. Like I remember. So do you know Yvonne Ting and Claire Grabber? So Claire and Yvonne came down to play with us in Wilmington, and I just remember like it was like this like aura around the two of them coming down to play with us. It was like, oh, it's like 5.0 nationals, women's doubles champions, and I was like, shit, man, this is gonna get tough. Like I can't wait. And they showed up, and no doubt they play a solid game. But like
Claire has the best backhand dink I've ever played.
Her backhand dink, that cut dink that Claire hits is so tough. But playing with them, I'm like, I can play this. Like, yeah, let's go. Let's have fun and get out there.
You smash a ball at Yvonne, and it's right back in the kitchen.
Yeah, that is true. It is true. But
you know who I play with? You play with Sarah today. She's kind of like a Yvonne in the making because she just gets everything.
She gets everything back, man. And she is so good mid-court. It's crazy. Like everything, you hit a ball at her feet, it's at your feet in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I played with her all summer, Andrew, and here's what she did. So it was me, her, and 2 young guys. I don't want to name anybody, but like 4 or 5 guys, and we played a lot this summer. And if you looked at them, the 2 guys, not me, I was the worst of the group, but if you looked at them, just in playing, the athleticism, everything else, they were the 2 best players. But if you look at the win-loss records, and it's because Sarah has this unique way. She's just a great partner. I don't know how else to describe it, but she's the first partner I can remember that I played with a lot that I never, ever felt like they're not happy with me. Like, like I've had partners, like I go out of my way trying not to be negative, to send out any negative vibes, but I know there are times when my partner hits the 5th drop in a row into the net, they're probably perceiving something in me negative. I never had that with her, and she adapts so well to each partner's game. I saw her play with the 3 of guys that she played with this summer. We all have very different games, and I tend to be more or less aggressive than the other 2 were, and she would just adjust. She would become more aggressive. But the other 2, she let them be as aggressive, didn't take it personally, and she just did her job. And so she just made every one of us better. All 3 players were better when she was on the court.
Yeah.
Did you experience that today? Did you feel that?
Yeah, I only played with her in the first 2 games, and we were both sort of just warming up. And she kind of just let me do what I wanted to, and she would just kind of, okay, I need to do this, and she just takes on that other role.
And she'd be in the right spot. She was always in the right spot. Like if I was in the wrong spot, she'd be in the spot you should be in when your partner's in the wrong spot.
Today was really fun. That was the first time I ever officially met her and played with her, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It's fun when you groove with someone like that. You know, like there are definitely moments when I can play with someone. I'm like, this is not going so well. And even if you play a good game, it still feels like you didn't gel with a person super well. And then there are times when it just clicks and you're like out there having a good time. And it sounds like Sarah's that. So,
but so that's the unique thing. I think she's that with pretty much everybody.
That's a pretty unique thing to do.
I can't say that's true, but it just seems like it because she won the most games of all three of us. And on paper, she wasn't like skill. You know, James can jump higher, Jeremiah can do whatever, but she ended up winning the most games, in my opinion, and just because everybody was better when they were on her team.
Greg, what do you mean at the warehouse? I'm sorry, I don't know. When did you say that? He said at the warehouse ? I don't know. That was at 9:26.
At the warehouse with Paul Lambers and some other folks, but I didn't mention the warehouse this time.
Oh, in Wilmington at the warehouse. I know what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah. Talk about brutal. That place killed. Oh my God! I'm surprised you ever invited me back to that place. Between the lighting and the ball skipping off the floor. I was happy to play there, but boy, did I look terrible.
That was like No. That was before. That was pre my playing. Like I started playing about 3 years ago, and like I remember everyone talking about playing at the warehouse. I was like, what the hell is this place? That was before there were like actual, real, official places to play in Wilmington. So
right. Do you guys have like landmarks along your pickleball journey? I'll call them where like there's certain people I met like that. I met a woman who was in New York singles. She would not know me from Adam. We probably played once or twice in our whole lives, but she kicked my ass. And I went, what? And then I started watching videos to see what the woman did because she would hit soft shots. I'm going to take it easy on this port. She was like close to 70. And so like, I'll always remember her. And then I ran into this guy, Dan Pechtel from Connecticut. He lives in Florida now. I'm like, oh my God, like people I met along the way that were just so amazing. And then maybe even eventually I became better or equal to them. But when I met them, they were like, oh, I was just in awe of them. You guys have that?
So Z brings up a good point. He said, when pickleball IQs are close, wins are not far behind. And then he said, some people refer to that as chemistry, but I call it similar IQs. And I mean, I think, Z, if you're around and you want to be on one of these shows, yes. But that's a really good point. I think if you have a similar pickleball IQ with the partner that you're playing with and just sort of knowing the shot that you need to hit and what you should be hitting, and of course, obviously, like all of us go for shots that we shouldn't have, but as soon as you miss that shot, you know you shouldn't have hit it. Right. And that's a good point where if you're playing a similar pickleball IQ style, you just mesh with that person. And I think if I had to rank pickleball IQs, I think Sarah's probably the highest IQ I've played with. Just because she knows what she should be doing.
Yeah, but my big thing is position. Like that's drives me crazy when I have partners who are consistently like not where I think they should be. I played this morning after you left, Andrew, with Jessica, and she was on that. So many people stray from the line. I always say that the default is to play singles, so you kind of like go where you should go if you were playing singles, and you have to tell yourself, I'm not playing singles. My partner's going to cover that area. I've got to be closer, over here or whatever. And she did that so well today. And I played with her many times, and she's always done it pretty well, but never like today. And I just saw it paying dividends. Like we were playing so good, and so many times she was on that line when the opponent hit it to the line, expecting her not to be there, and she was there.
That was my first ever mixed doubles partner.
Yeah, she mentioned you today in about
Wait, who was that, Andrew?
Actually, no, it was my second ever mixed doubles partner. Wendy was my first, but Jessica Rigo. Yeah. She's got an unbelievable return of serve.
She's getting better too. She's
good.
She's so good today.
Yeah, you were talking, Jim, about those like moments when you like those pickleball kind of level up moments. And for me, like
landmarks or whatever,
the landmarks, right? And I was playing in Belmont and having a good time with all the the retirees, right. But winning games 11-0 isn't super fun. It really isn't. It's not a good time. And once you realize that what the level of play is, you're like, oh man, I got to find the thing. And so Ron York pulled me out. I bumped into him one time at a like open play session. And he's like, no, dude, you can play. Come play with us. And the first time that I played with those guys, I came home and I told my wife, I'm like, this game is so different than I was good at this. Like I thought I was good at this. And I'm like, no, I am absolutely awful at this pickleball game. Absolutely awful at this thing because like I got crushed and I was like, there's no way these guys are inviting me back to play. No way. And I got lucky enough that they did, and man, that was the first moment for me that I was like the landmark. Like, oh no, I don't know how to play this game at all. So
well, no, that was my landmark too. Was playing with you guys. Must have been last summer, I guess, early last summer.
You're talking about me, right, Andrew? You're talking about playing with me.
No, you were my ground zero landmark, Jim. But my next landmark was Matt's group, and then. This time last year, actually, I guess my second landmark was playing men's open, Green Valley. Aspen Kern was playing in that tournament, and I played with Jonathan Wilson, who is absolutely skyrocketing in the pickleball scene. But that was my next landmark.
Say that name again. I missed that.
Jonathan Wilson.
Oh, Jonathan. Yeah, I know Jonathan. Yeah.
Wait, Andrew, who beat Jonathan Wilson last year at this time? Do you remember? It's me and Christy. That's my claim to fame, man.
I saw that. I was there.
That's my Eden Leica. That's my Eden Leica moment. It's like
yes,
I beat him one time.
Yeah, we're still playing the U.S. Open together as long as he doesn't dump me. So,
all right.
No, he was in the chat earlier, Andrew. Did you see that?
But I did. Yeah, shout out John.
You must not have been exciting enough for him if he left.
But no, that was my second awakening of watching Aspen Kern reset and just balls that I would try to attack, and he's just nope, putting that right back in the kitchen. And that's what I've been trying to work on is not attacking everything. And I think I've gotten better at it, but I'm the landmarks are cool because you just you hit a spot and you're like, okay, I need to work on this. And that's the beauty of pickleball is just trying to work on something and realizing that there's people out there that are better than you. And
so much better.
Now, Andrew has been nice to me this show, but just for the record, Andrew and his partner put a golden pickle on me last week. So I'm a little bit bitter about that. Anybody out there not familiar with a golden pickle? It's when the server serves from 0-0-2 to 11-0-2 nonstop.
Holy shit. Who did you do that with? Who were you playing with, Andrew?
Nah, I didn't even serve, so I can't take any credit.
But you still had to win the points. It's not like he served aces every time.
That's
I was playing with Rocky, who is probably the most athletic.
My partner. We're not gonna say
we won't refer
No. You can just absorb it all, Jim. So
I was playing with Rocky, who's probably the most athletic 70-year-old I've ever met.
Yeah, he's 70. I thought he was younger than 70.
Well, I mean, 70 is close enough.
I don't think I've ever had a golden pickle.
If somebody calls you 70, you're not happy. I'm just trying to save you trouble.
Don't tell him I said that. He doesn't have Facebook though.
That's true. I was gonna say you're safe with Rocky. He's not gonna.
I'll tell him in 2 years.
Yeah.
Have you been golden pickled before? I've never even heard of
my
that.
second year playing, I served the golden pickle, but I did not understand how rare it was at the time. I didn't even know the name of it. I just knew I did it, and it was really cool. And then I've since then come in the habit, whenever it's 6-0-2 at the beginning of a game, I will stop the game and announce it and say, just so we know, so everybody knows it's 6, whether I'm the good side of it, the bad side of it, I'll announce it. I did not do it in that game.
It's like pitching a no hit. That's got to be like pitching a no hitter almost. I feel
it's a perfect game. It's not a
perfect game. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I've won games.
And the pressure, talk about pressure, it's like tournament pressure because you do not want, we did not want that to happen. I guarantee you. There was a lot of pressure.
Oh, man, now that's something to aim for. I've never done that. I want to try to get that now.
Yeah.
Maybe with that new drop serve.
Well, it's not going to be this. I mean, the serve helps. There were no aces, but there was some good, good serving. But it was just one of those. And the funny thing is, my partner and I lost the game before that to them 12-10. So it wasn't like, they were definitely the better players, but they weren't that much better. It's not like they would golden pickle us, once a year or something. It was like one of those moments. So
I feel like it needs a better name than golden pickle, though. Like,
well, that's only because you Scott Gold and you think it's his, but no.
Is he the one who came up
No,
with the name
no,
of this?
it's not. I tease him, but it's not him.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say, I'm like,
We had a
feel
big debate after it happened because some guy was saying that, actually, if the second person who serves wins 11-0, it's actually better because then they won the rally, they got them the ball back, and then so they actually won 12 points in a row. But it's the perfection of starting.
It's not as authentic.
It's not really like what was harder. Some guy wrote on Pickleball Forum, well, winning 11 points in a row by hitting your opponent off the forehead's harder too, but it's not the golden ticket. That's true. That is harder. So we're not saying it's the hardest thing in the world to do in pickleball. It's just the neatest, cleanest. That was my thing.
Yeah.
It's clean. It's concise.
no, it's very clean. It's perfect. It is a perfect win.
Yeah,
I like that. That is something to aspire to for sure.
Yeah.
That is.
So if you ever 602, make the announcement. Just so you know, I'm back for a golden pickle, because then you put pressure on everybody.
Oh yeah, right. I like that. I've gone up 502 before, but I have not. Definitely not.
Now that you're aware of it, you'll probably find that you are, because I find I'm in a number of 602 games. 6 or 7 a year or something like that. It's often enough, but
yeah,
it doesn't.
But
I don't know if to get beyond 6 though.
Well, I definitely love the idea of calling it out ahead of time, because then it's like, oh shit, no, you gotta pull it off. You gotta prevent it from.
But you have to do it even if you're the victim of it, though. You have to be consistent.
Yeah. No, I'm into that. I like that a lot. Yep.
Now, nicknames. What were the nickname things you were gonna bring up?
Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about like fun pickleball nicknames. Like what's your Rhode Island Jim? What's the best pickleball nickname that you've heard?
I don't hear a lot of pickleball nicknames. Do you hear a lot of pickleball? No. I mean, I was thinking like Ernie's and things like that. I actually have one that I'm promoting pretty heavily.
I mean, Quack the Duck is a good nickname.
Yeah, but it's not as pickleball. That's the first one that popped in my head too, but it's not as pickleball nickname. It's just what he's doing. But I do have something I want to spread. There's probably nobody watching anymore, but
no, we got look, man, we got hundreds of people watching right now. It's great.
So
200,000.
So when you take a step on, how when somebody takes a step in the court and you drill it to their feet and you get the point. Like they just took that, he served and they stepped in a foot. Or that step, that's called birching. You birched.
You birch?
A birch, B-U-R-C-H. So if you take one step in, it's a birch. And the people who taught me pickleball, it's a couple, and their name is Gene and Kathy Birch. And Kathy, since the day I met her, has been birching because she's not old, but on the older side. And a lot of older folks want that head start to get in. And a lot of older folks, when you play other older folks, they hit it soft. They get you running in. So we call it a birch. And I want that to spread, that it's a birch. So when I coach people or I'm teaching the game, I teach them, oh, you birch. And then if somebody comes in 2 steps, I say, oh, it's a double birch or a triple birch. But the term is birch. So when you step into the court prematurely, you're birching.
I can't wait. I'm going to use it. I'm totally using it.
I wanted to make it because first off, they introduced me to the game. They're fun. I tease this woman relentlessly, and she's so good natured about it. I wanted to be, and I told her I was going to name this after, and she was okay with it. So I said I wanted to spread it. I wanted to make it big. Birching.
All right, here we go, Jim. I'm trying to. This is a thing that I'm trying to name. All right, so like I know this is called the flying So there's a thing called the flying Erne, but I want to rename it. I want to call it the Gooch, and here's why.
Ooh,
do you know Bill Gooch?
I do know Bill Gooch. My 300-pound friend I told you about. Bill Gooch was instrumental. He knows Bill Gooch, and he was instrumental. Bill Gooch was instrumental in getting my friend who said he's never, ever, ever going to play pickleball to play pickleball.
All right. Have you seen this shot? Have you seen this shot?
I may have. I've seen a lot of your videos, so let me see.
All right. So like this is a. I want to get this called the Gooch. This is my play for calling it the Gooch.
Brother.
All right. So like, listen. If I'll push the birch if you push the Gooch. Okay, here we go. This is the Gooch.
1 minute. Where is Gooch?
This is the Gooch in the blue. This is the Gooch in the blue. All right. So we're gonna call this the Gooch. This is Ryan Pugh and Riley Stockwell and me over here on the far. All right.
All right. I know everybody.
So we're calling this the Gooch. We got to call this the Gooch.
1 minute. Is that Gooch doing it right now?
No, this is me. I'm coming up. It's an Erne off the third shot drop. So this is what I want to call the Gooch.
Yeah, slow it up. I gotta watch it again. You don't mind playing again, do you?
No, of course not. It's me. Why not?
Wait 1 minute. Stop.
Okay.
Who is everybody? Who's the guy in the blue shirt running forward right now?
The blue guy in the blue shirt. The guy in the blue shirt is Bill Gooch, and
Bill.
we got
Okay.
Ryan Pugh, his partner,
Okay,
and then
Ryan.
and this is me over here with Riley Stockwell.
Which one's Riley and which one's you? You're the one who does the Erne.
I'm the one who does the Gooch.
All right, so you call it the Gooch, but Gooch didn't do it. See, I was watching Gooch.
No. It's about who it's done against. This is what you have to get on board with. So
Okay,
it's not
I
who,
make sure I understand it.
it's not who does it. It's who it's done against.
All right.
So
Okay.
all right. So you ready? Like third shot drop, and I'm coming after him.
That's very unique. How often does that happen? I've never even tried it, Erne, because I can't wrap. I do ATPs like I'm like getting out of bed because my mind can wrap around ATPs, but I can't do Ernes at all. Wow.
You can't wrap around the Gooch, Jim?
My wife has done like 8 Ernes, including like in tournaments. And I haven't even tried one, even in rec play, because my brain will not function to let me do it.
Oh man, it's my favorite shot.
I
But that one,
want to do it.
but
Jim, I'll set you up for one.
I've hit this one a couple of times,
Monday.
and
Yeah, so you jump the kitchen and hit it right back at him. Dude,
Yeah,
play it again. Can you play one more time?
yeah, hold on.
I don't play this the entire night if you keep asking them to.
I'll play this all night. I love the
I
shot.
just want to see it set up.
So Riley serves it, right? And then
All right,
Bill
so
returns
Riley
it to me. So this is my third shot drop.
Okay.
So as I hit the third shot drop, I know that it's gonna be a good shot. So I rush the net.
You know it's gonna be a good drop.
Yeah, it's a good drop. And it's on his forehand side.
Right.
And he's not gonna put it back down the middle. And when you know that,
how do you know he's not gonna do that?
I don't know, you feel it, you gooch him.
Yeah. All right, good.
And so you feel
good.
it.
Yeah,
he's been gooched. So we gotta spread this. I know he'll love it. I know Bill will love this.
You know what the trouble is spreading this one? It doesn't happen often enough.
But people should do it. That's what I'm saying. Is if it gets a name, people will do it more.
Yeah, I don't think the name's very appealing though.
No, Gooch is a great name.
Gooch is a great name for this.
Yeah.
But Andrew, what name would you come up with for this?
Jim, Google Gooch after the show ends and
okay.
Send me a text.
Should we not do this?
I googled some name the other day and it was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. The Urban Dictionary.
So Matt Saccone, one of the guys that I kind of started playing pickleball with, and was like,
"Oh shit!
Okay,
we can't call it the Gooch. I just googled this. We can't call
it. You didn't know that?
Oh, no.
I didn't know that. That's what this is. Oh,
the Urban Dictionary sucks. It ruins a
lot.
Oh
no!
Now I gotta look up Birch.
We cannot call it the Gooch.
No, I thought you knew. I thought you were making a joke.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I made so many like subtle jokes that never mind. Sorry to ruin it. But yeah, Matt Saccone says pickleball is dead in New England. Changed my mind in all caps.
Matt Saccone said that? How do you say his last name? Is Saccone or Saccone?
I say Saccone, but
does he really mean that? Because I don't see Matt as much as I used to see him.
That's why he's saying
pickleball is dead.
He says it's dead because he's not playing. That's why.
Is he not playing because of COVID, or he's just not playing?
Nah, he's playing, but he's not playing. I think he just actually thinks pickleball's dead in New England, and I'm not going to argue with him.
It is currently dead. I agree with that.
It's all a matter of perception, you know. I mean, Matt's at a very high level, so maybe he's not finding enough people at his level. I could buy into that. I don't know. Because if there's only, it's like I said that time I was at 4.5 plus. Part of my reasoning was how often, where I was at that time, which I think was Western Connecticut, how often do they have, 4.5 plus people together? So how could I jump on that court? I couldn't. In fact, I did that. I've done that. I've gone to open play in Dartmouth or advanced play in Dartmouth where I've stayed off courts because I thought I've seen James and Matt and you and Jeremiah on a court, and I'm like, well, I'm not, or Chris or whatever, and I'm not getting on that court, even though I might have earned my way up there. The Bucks, you know. So.
I don't think you gave yourself enough credit, Jim. You're a better player than you lean on. But
no, it's not even a better. It's not that. I'm not even saying that. I get, like, I don't think I'm a terrible player. I think I could play with any CEO at any time. My bigger point is that you're together that night, that particular night.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's not happening all the time, because I do get plenty of games. I play with you all the time, Andrew. I play with Chris all the time. I play with my son all the time. I play with Jeremiah all the time. But when all of you are together, hey, I can take a break that night. I don't need to.
No, that's fair.
All the time. That's kind of how I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I just didn't. I like playing with you.
Yeah.
I think playing with you the last few times, you're doing a lot of things differently. And I know you said you play with Sarah a lot, but I feel like that's showing. Like you're being a lot more aggressive, and it's fun to see like people that you're playing with just like improve. And
right.
I've noticed that in you, where like you're playing a different style and trying to work on different things the last couple of times we played.
Well, playing with the kids, those three youngsters over the summer, definitely. Like I went, first off, the virus happened, so now nobody's playing. You know, that's my group. And then in the fall, when things kind of opened up a little bit, I went and played, and somebody said, "Wow, Jim, you jumped." And I'm like, well, I jumped because I've been playing with these 4.5 plus players for all summer, and and I haven't been winning, but I've been getting better despite it.
So Greg says Jim is a great player and phenomenal tip player. He helped my kids and wife greatly back in April after the shutdowns at Strawberry Park. And that was Greg. Is it Rhoda?
Rhoda. I say Rhoda. I don't know if that's right, but yeah. His wife and daughters came in and they played, and they're a family, so they can come and play. And his daughters don't play a lot, I don't think, but they're such a great family. Greg was actually a Division I hockey player, goaltender. So, he has great hands. He has great hands in here. Him and my brother,
Peter Taché was
another one
goalie, right?
Yeah. Peter Taché.
Yeah, it's cool to see a lot of the different sports that the skills are transferable between pickleball, and obviously tennis is the huge one. But like you see, like Pete's, and I've never seen Greg play, but like Pete's, like his glove, it's like a glove save. Like
yeah. He does it quite a bit. So it's funny because you don't even know sometimes. I was playing up in Maine, and there was a young woman there, pretty tall Asian woman, and I had not met her before. But after we were done playing that particular day, she was pretty good. She was new to the game. She said to me, "Oh, you played volleyball." And now volleyball was my best sport ever. I was really pretty good at volleyball. And but as I got older, I couldn't jump, as high as I needed to jump, so I gave it up. But I said, "How did you know that?" She said, "Because I can see when the ball's coming up to you high, you look around like a volleyball. When you play volleyball, you're kind of looking for that spot." She said, "I could see the way you were looking and positioning yourself. You play volleyball." And ever since then, now I'm aware that I do things that are beneficial to volleyball. But you guys, I bet you know the player. Her name is Reha.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, okay. She was a high-level volleyball player herself. And so when she saw what I was doing, she recognized, oh, he's playing like a volleyball player. So, but it was when she was pretty new to the sport when I first met her. So. Yeah,
there's a guy that plays in Lakeville and Dartmouth, Derek Milso. You know him, Jim?
Derek, yeah, he's a monster. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a former volleyball player, and he hits the ball harder than anybody I've ever.
He's gonna put it through me. I've only put him a couple times, but every time I play with him, I'm like, man, this thing. If I ever don't get my paddle on, this is going right through my body, the other side. Man, that guy hit it hard. Yeah. Oh my god! He's got a lot of pent up anger or something, man. That ball goes so fast. How did somebody hit this so hard?
So, Jim, I only have one more question on my list that's not crossed off. So the question was, what's your most memorable pickleball moment? Whether that was either a tournament or something that you introduced somebody to. What would you say is, like, for pickleball, like, your greatest story?
My greatest story is my wife and I went up to Buffalo, New York to play in a tournament. And I don't even remember what division we were in, but whatever division we were in, it was very super competitive. Lots of teams. Knew some of the people, but didn't know most of the people. I actually know most of them now, but at the time I didn't. But my wife and I are both horrible dancers. We don't dance at weddings other than, maybe some slow dances. Even then, we probably step on each other's feet. But we played in that tournament. We took the silver, and the gold medal game was just amazing. And we just danced the whole tournament. It was like the nicest feeling with my wife to be dancing.
That's awesome.
And we've had it a few times since, but she's been out now so we'll probably have to redevelop our dance. But then we literally went on a cruise actually with the guy Kenny, who was commenting. Him and his wife, and me and my wife and another couple went on a cruise. And Ken and his wife Dee are very good dancers. They love music, whatever. And we would just go kind of stand there and watch them dance. And finally, my wife and I decided, hey, why don't we just pretend we're playing pickleball? So we were like dancing like pickleball shots. And I'm not saying we were good, but it felt more comfortable than actual dancing. But yeah, that was playing with my wife. Generally, when we're not early on, we would have some bickering, but we got to the point where like we just moved well together. She kind of understood we were on the same page. So that's probably the most memorable for me.
It was really awesome, Jim. Yeah. That's a good memory, man. Like I feel like
that's a good memory. My wife said right now, I feel like good about it.
You could have come up with a lot of other stuff. That was a solid one to pull right there. I like that.
Well, you know what it is? You have that feeling at the time. Like it's just this, you're on top of the world. You're on top of the world. Like, wow, look what we're doing. I mean, we were just playing so well. That's
awesome.
I actually remember that too.
Yeah.
Karen said That's awesome.
And you want the win, but the game just lasted so long.
The game, the points lasted. Everybody's watching us.
And even when we lost, it was like, wow, thanks for that game. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it was the kind of game when you lost, everybody's coming up to you like as if you won, like, wow, what a game. It was just like back and forth.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is fun, man. Look, Jim,
you said you had one more question, right, before we send Jim off?
Yeah, I guess. I use this like for my day job. I interview a ton of like people for like people who are applying for jobs at the company that I work at.
I was going to ask you for a job, so this works out good.
Oh, great, perfect. And one of the questions that the question that I end up with every interview in is, is there a question that you wish that we would have asked you during the conversation?
Yeah, I wish you asked me how much I'd like to be paid. No, you guys did a great job. You did a great job. I was a little nervous.
Would you recommend this to other people? Would you be like, yes, you should hop on to like 2 dink minimum with Andrew and Matt next time?
Sure. You just let me know if you need my help getting somebody lined up. I know. Like Z will do it. Z will do anything. He's good. So you'll have no trouble getting him. Greg, I
think Z's in the lineup.
Yeah,
he's in the pipeline.
And I think Greg would be happy. I can't vouch for Greg, but because I don't know if he publicly would like to speak, but he's got tons of ideas. He's always texting me things. He travels here and there. He'll send me pictures of things. So he's definitely and he's an ambassador, so he's into the sport. He's a good one. Yeah, there's a million people I've met that are definitely interesting and have great stories. And
I kind of want to talk to that guy Sean Paul from Dartmouth.
Oh yeah, Sean. Yep,
he gets around. He's been all over the place.
He's been all over the place. He's kind of traveled like I have. He's traveled a lot of places. I'd actually like to hear him speak and tell you guys stuff. He's another.
Yeah, I definitely think we want to have you back on. Maybe we'll find some different topics.
First guest right here.
Oh, am I the first guest ever? Inaugural episode.
You are guest number 1, Jim. You get to. There's going to be there's the 5 Timers Club or whatever in Saturday Night Live. So you'll come back. So
that'll be me. Oh, cool. I like it. There's a show called Eddie and Weeby or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys hear that? So I've heard of it, but I never watched it. And then Michael Latini, who's a very nice guy. Anyway, he sent me a message saying I was on their show. I'm like, I was on this show. So the show was like 2 hours. So I wasn't, going to watch the whole show. But you remember I did that video like early on in the virus when I was like the one where I'm running around on the court?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. That's a good one.
Like top 10 video things or something. And they just said, they don't even go like, you guys could at least call me Rhode Island Jim, or, they just go video by Jim. And then it's just me running around a little bit. I'm like, oh, good. That was my chance for some fame, and nobody knows who this guy was.
I mean, I will say you're definitely a local celebrity.
Yeah.
I've been around
100% sure.
where people come, and it happened a couple weeks ago, or last Monday, when that guy was like, "Oh, you're Rhode Island Jim, right? You run the Strawberry Park thing, and you're on Roadie Pickleballers." And he's like, "Yeah, I play at Strawberry Park. I'm so and so." And you're like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, Tom, yeah. He's an owner there. Like, I definitely should know that guy. How I did not, but in my defense, he doesn't come on weekends, and I work during the week. So he was playing when I wasn't playing, but it's still amazing that he literally is an owner at the park, and I did not know him. Once he said that, I'm like, I think I recognize him a little bit, but imagine that, another guy who plays pickleball, been playing for 3 years in the same place I play, and I don't even know.
I will say, and Matt alluded to it earlier, but what you're doing for pickleball, like as much as you're doing it just because you want to, is really awesome, and I think the sport's definitely growing because of it. So,
well, thank you, I appreciate that. Just another example. So I played this woman this morning. Joe's her name. I couldn't figure out if it was an Irish or Scottish, but she's a very good player. But at 3-2, she goes, "Are you Jim Labrosse?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I know you." They never scored another point. So when we were done, I said to her, because she was very good. I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't have scored another point. And I said to her, "When you found out I was Jim Labrosse, do you have a perception of me being a good player, or is it because of Roadie Pickleball?" She goes, "No, a good player." I said, "Wait, well, then you gotta, that isn't what I'm known for." It's like, yes, I'm not a bad player, but that's not what I'm known for. I'm known for like being a guy who's promoting the sport and out and about. Don't get intimidated by me again. And then she beat me the next time. So I shouldn't have gave her that pep talk.
Well, Jim, I think we're going to wrap stuff up. And so maybe let's one last drink. And thanks so much for joining us. And we had a great time. It was like a spectacular way to spend a Saturday evening. So
no, I much appreciate it. Now, I never did get to see the chats, but there must be some way for me to see them later, right?
I'm sure you can see him on Facebook.
You can see them all later for sure.
Okay.
But we had a great time with you, and thanks so much for joining us, Jim. We had a great time.
If anybody's watching and we didn't respond to your chat, it's because I didn't see it. So,
any final things you want to say before we end the show, Jim?
No, but I'm an ambassador in Rhode Island. So if you know people, really any place, but definitely Rhode Island or whatever, looking to play, be introduced to the sport, I'm happy to do it. That's what I do.
Awesome. Thanks.
So good. Thanks, Jim, man. All right. And good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. Great comments.
Thanks,
and
guys.
glad to have everyone watching. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye, guys. Yeah. How do I shut this off?